Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and today we're back with another pre-release build guide video where we're actually going to plan how am I going to build my own account for the new character Topaz and Numby in future, supposedly patch 1.4. Now, one thing's for sure, of course, these pre-release videos, unlike the build guide videos on our channel, these are still subjected to the change. I do not have control over whether the developer decides to change their mind and change the entire kit. So first things first, I think as a fire hunt character that has been officially released, she will likely do well with a fire set, but I don't really like the 4-piece bonus here, generally for most fire characters. Increases skill damage by 12%, and when you unleash ultimate, you increase fire damage by another 12%. I think what is more attractive is running 2-piece here for the fire damage 10%, and running, for example, Messenger of Traversing Hackerspace, which gives a speed 6%. What is important to note about speed 6% is when you have a 6% gain on speed, faster moving characters generally benefit a little bit more from speed percentage, and being a hunt character, I do suppose that her speed will be higher than average as well, which is why I think she can use quite nicely a 2-piece of speed as well as the fire set, in my opinion. Other options that you can of course run is Break Effect. I think Break Effect likely will be quite strong on fire characters, especially if she moves very often. In this case, Thief of Shooting Meteor definitely could be another alternative that you could be thinking of, just to do more break damage, and when you break damage on an enemy, you regenerate 3 energy. So this is another alternative that you can be considering. Of course, some of you might be wondering why not just run a 4-piece Wild Weed instead of a 2-piece Messenger and 2-piece Fire of Lava Forging, the Firesmith of Lava Forging. I think attack percentage and basic attack damage is not going to be as versatile as this 10% fire damage bonus, and that is why I will deviate away from Musketeer of Wildbeat in general. 4 pieces are also a little bit harder to farm compared to, of course, 2-piece combinations, because it's much easier to complete your set bonuses in that case. So that is my thoughts for the 4-piece. In terms of the main stats, I think for the body, what I will generally be looking on will probably be crit damage. Most hunt characters have quite a lot of crit rate in their tracers, and their Lightcones also, the free Lightcone that we get from Herta Shop also gives a lot of crit rate. So most of the time, I do think crit damage is the one that is going to be more important. But of course, if you have a very nice crit rate fire set or speed set, do give it to her as well. I think that she will use it quite well too, with a good amount of crit damage stats. But for by and large, crit damage likely going to be more important compared to crit rate. Especially since hunt characters easily have access to crit rate already. For the boots, on the other hand, I think here will split both ways. Some people will run attack percentage, some people will run speed. Speed means she acts more often, you can get more energy restoration for the character. Attack percentage means you're focusing up on perhaps Numby's ability, for whatever reason why Numby is a separate character, Topaz and Numby. Maybe she is similar to Lightning Lord, she acts on the side, attack percentage might benefit her a little bit more in that sense. So that would be where it's more valuable. If you play with a character like Bronya, you play with a character like Esther who supplements the turn advance already, probably speed is less important. But I think this is where it's gonna split down the middle. Depending on your roster, we'll decide this accordingly as well. I see cases for both of them. And for 2-piece is actually quite simple. I think Innate Salsoto is going to be her best in slot, especially if she's a character that is going to act a lot on follow-up attacks if she does, because maybe similar to Lightning Lord and Numby works in the same way. So if everything is follow-up attacks, likely Innate Salsoto is going to be a lot better because she benefits from this second part of the effect. And crit rate here is very nice, especially if you're running a crit damage main stat like we mentioned here for the body. You likely will complement it quite well with Innate Salsoto. There is a good alternative. A second option will be Broken Kill, and I think the reasons are also quite justified for Broken Kill compared to Innate Salsoto. Innate Salsoto really focus on individual damage of herself, whereas Broken Kill brings out your team as well as a bit more utility with the higher effect rest. By increasing the crit damage of your entire team means that she's likely going to be taking a sub DPS role where she's dishing out damage, but from a secondary role, maybe not your main hyper carry, you have another character that deals a lot of damage. That's the case that I think Broken Kill will be much better when you're seeing damage come from all 4 units rather than concentrated on one, which is what Innate Salsoto generally means. Effect rest higher also is more utility, because if you get crowd controlled, likely she won't be doing any damage, she might die and stuff like that. Effect rest is always nice to have, especially if we go towards the later game. Likely the enemies will have much more crowd control, debuff placing and stuff like that. So I think this is a good alternative to Innate Salsoto, especially if you want to go for the long run and sacrifice her individual strengths for the sake of utility and team-wide bonus. For Planisphere, I think it's quite straightforward. fire damage bonus will be my go-to choice for my account. And for Link Rope, I think the choice will be either energy restoration rate or attack percentage. I will likely turn towards attack percentage. Energy regeneration rate likely not as important. Hunt characters generally have quite a lot of speed, which means you already get quite a lot of turn orders there. I don't foresee a need for energy restoration rate. I rather more damage. It's like similar to a situation where you likely won't run energy restoration on Zilla. You'll much prefer like attack percentage to do more damage as well. Yeah, but those are some of my thoughts. I do see a case for break effect since fire and break effect is quite good for the most part. But then again, if you are branding her for break effect, you probably won't be running into like other fire teams. Maybe she's the one that is focusing on the fire break. We have to see how it goes on testing day. I will keep one break effect just spare, just in case, but most likely I'll turn towards attack percentage. It's just more straightforward and much more easier to build, in my opinion, at the very least. And of course, these two are the builds. The last one is if you're going for a break effect build, I think it's Thalia, Kingdom of Banditry. This is for the specific situation where you're running maybe Thief of Shooting Meteor, you are running Thalia, Kingdom of Banditry. When you have this much break effect, it's going to be much easier to do a lot of damage for that niche build. I think it could work, especially if your character can act a lot, which I think Topaz and Numby is going to act very often, which means you'll dish out a lot of fire break damage on the toughness bar, which means that she'll likely be breaking more often than not. But to play a 5-star character as break effect, we will have to test it out and see how it works. It's very similar to Susang style in that sense, but I'm split down the middle, deciding whether I want to run her break effect or attack percentage. We will see how that goes. I'm just going to put it out here in this like pre-release video to give you the option to decide yourself which one you want to see. I'll likely be testing both on a later date as well. And if you're finding value in this video so far, do leave me a like, subscribe for more of such future content. I'll be definitely doing more on these new upcoming characters. I've already done one on Jingliu. You can check it out on the channel if you're interested in that character as well, and maybe you're sitting on the fence. But anyway, for Lightcones now, the Hunt, I think is a very, very nice free-to-play setup for her so far. Cruising in the Stellar Sea works really well. You have extra crit rate of enemies who are less than equal to 50% HP, so even better. Likely she's going to overcap on crit eventually because there's a lot of crit from everywhere. And of course, when you defeat enemy, you get nice attack bonuses, 40%. More importantly, it's free, so that's amazing. I love free stuff. Other than that, I think other stuff that is really good is swordplay. Possibly this is also going to be really strong, especially if you're hitting a boss monster and you're not switching targets as well. I think swordplay will stack this up real quick for her. Probably going to be a really strong one. The others are okay, in my opinion. Like for example, only Silent Remain likely will be slightly inferior to swordplay. Subscribe for more, I don't think it's like super strong for her as well. You probably won't be keeping her up if it does any damage at all. You likely will be moving towards cruising in the Stellar Sea. And River Flows in Spring is very conditional because you require you to not take damage running with a shielder. The one that I actually quite like is Return to Darkness. This is the Battle Pass Lightcone. This is actually really, really strong. Quite underrated that people won't be thinking about, won't be talking about, because of course it's a paid Battle Pass one. But hear me out, let me explain why it's interesting. Not only does it give you 12% crit, but every time you crit, you have a chance of dispelling a buff on the target. If she's a Hunt character and she moves very often together with Numby, this means that you are likely going to get a lot of hits on the enemy, and in that case, she can work as a dispeller as well to remove buffs from an enemy with this light cone. She can potentially be run as a sub DPS, especially if she has some sort of buff in a kit that maybe buffs some sort of attack, like follow-up attack. I do see that her running this could be quite useful for utility sense in a team composition or team building perspective. But those are like just some of my thoughts. Last but not least, of course, we have the standard light cone. You can trade this in the shop for the amount of star glitter and stuff like that. Sleep Like the Dead increases crit damage by 30% when the wearer does a basic attack or skill that does not result in a crit hit. Increase the crit rate by 36%. This mainly is used for crit damage part here. I think this is useful, especially if you find yourself overcapping on crit already and you don't really need the additional crit rate that cruising in the Stellar Sea provides. Maybe your substat rolls will like super god tier in the crit rate body and stuff like that. I think that's when this will likely be very strong. But for a free play option, cruising the Stellar Sea is very good enough. I wouldn't like exchange tickets just for this one. I'm also not talking about the 3-star as well as limited 5-star, because if you likely have those, in the night is definitely way better, and her signature is going to be way better for her. And 3 stars just lose out too much on the attack stat to even justify considering for a DPS character, regardless of utility or not. And that is for the Lightcones. And now let's go ahead and talk with some characters that I think are worth investing in. We're going to be doing team comps in the subsequent video after I do more theory crafting, because that is something that our channel is also known for, that we always do towards like after official live stream as well. So you can stay tuned to the channel for that. Characters that I am interested to build for her will definitely be Mark 7. Mark 7 has follow-up attacks in her kit, likely will be pretty strong. Shielder, cleanser, very, very good overall. I think it would be a solid addition to consider, especially in a team if she does, like, for some reason, use follow-up attacks. Another character that I do not have will be Clara. I think Clara will be an interesting character to consider. Clara also has follow-up attacks. And of course, you have units like Himiko, you have units, a pure fire team like Asta, who is like a harmony buffer with attack buffs there. So you have a good amounts of fire here, and and also maybe you can run Fire MC. These are all characters that are pretty strong, especially in a mono fire team if you're doing some sort of fire damage. But other characters that have follow-up, of course, like Jingyuan, and of course Himiko, as we mentioned, Herta as well. These are characters all with like follow-up attacks, which could see good value. But we'll do more theory crafting on team compositions, which I'll link in this video video right here if I remember, or otherwise you can always check back on the channel. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your attention, and see you in the next video.